We were the anti-nuclear capital of the world. I was an autistic kid. My father was a drafted United States Marine, an incredible man. I come from an incredible family. My uncle stood on Omaha Beach on D-Day. I grew up on a huge ranch out by the lake. He was a beautiful, incredible person. He was at Pendleton, combat ready, and they were human guinea pig. They were marched into the trenches in Nevada. They're called atomic veterans. He nearly died at the blast. Between 1951 and 1968, we had 300 open-air tests. Well, as different scientists started to write about this, Wallace Stegner was at the University of Utah at the time. I got to know him. Edward Abbey was hanging around there. I got to know him. I got to know all these environmentalists, and I was an environmentalist. And it was a passionate, intense subject matter there.
All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. Bloomgate, 311, whatever you want to call it. I call it Pacific genocide, whatever. It's fucking giant conspiratorial across all demographics. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. Bloomgate, 311, whatever you want to call it. I call it Pacific genocide, whatever. It's fucking giant conspiratorial across all demographics. They'll be calling you a radical. May God have mercy on all of your souls.
Nuclear power was evolving. We were promised, oh, this can't happen.
Well, good morning, all you. They'll be calling you a radicals. Hope everybody crawled out of their dogma snuggies this morning. A lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the war profiteers and these fake so-called intellectuals and book writers that are fucking pathetic. We're going to talk. First off, I want to say this. Hello, Fukushima is not going away. Fukushima is getting much, much worse just because the media cycle's down right now, because the bloggers, everybody who's taken on this fight are tired and wore out. That's just human nature. And nuclear physics could give a fuck about human nature. Could give a fuck about your fucking thought process and your dogma. Doesn't care. It's like here in Utah. We all grew up knowing what a downwinder was, hardcore. We fought back intensely. Jake Gahn, our senator, a Republican, by the way, back then, who would be considered a neo-freaking liberal whack job in today's society, took on Price Anderson over and over and over, says get rid of the nuclear hands. Could have back then. But Utah's all forgot. It's God's will. They just go along in their dogma snuggie, in their fucking false equity fucking lives. Plutonium didn't forget. It doesn't give a fuck if you forgot. 24,500 years half-life unmoxied. We're going to talk about your money on Wall Street. As I was in the exchange Thursday and Friday. Did I see a lot of my old friends? No, they're all gone. It's a museum. We're going to talk about 60 Minutes coming out 4 years later on flash trades. By the way, the 60 Minutes documentary was pathetic. The book writer, another war product, he's pathetic. He talked about it in such a ridiculous, I'll talk about it in the truth and reality. We're going to talk about Noam Chomsky has lost his fucking mind. The old senile fucker has lost his mind. He needs to sit the fuck down. He's become one of the greatest hypocrites in America. He's written 112 books. We're going to talk about Naomi and her false bravado, and fuck, she needs to sit down and shut the fuck up. Chris Hedges needs to sit down and shut the fuck up. Helen Caldecott needs to go right off into the fucking sunset and fucking sit there and fucking drool in the rest home. They're all fucking senile. They're gone. They're war profiteer. Fuck. All of them. Had the field. They had the field. Chomsky, all of them had the field. Hedges had the field. They all had the field in regard to the lead up to the fucking bank fucking meltdown, the fucking lead up to the fucking fake war. Get this, and never forget this. Chomsky said this. He's written 112 fucking books. They're the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Well, they say, oh, look, Kevin, you've done 1,000 videos over like a broken record. But remember this, mine are free. I'm not a war profiteer. I'm trying to fucking, for you and your family and your kids and your life. in real time in the acute fashion. This is acute. They didn't do it in the acute fashion. They're chronic. They're chronically sick with greed. Chomsky comes out, University of Florida, says, you know, you people that say that 9/11 was a conspiracy, and I don't even dive into the pre-9/11 conspiracy. I dive into the post-conspiracy, and anybody that doesn't think that it was a conspiracy, it's got their head so far up their fucking ass. By definition, we know at least it was 22 people. That's conspiracy. 16 of the 19 were Saudis. We knew they flew flights. They bought puts on the airline stocks. I was a derivative trader at the time. Easily traced. We know it's been reported widely now. Widely. The money has been traced right back to fucking the Bank of England, HSBC, right to under the House of Windsor. We know that for a fact. It's been widely reported. There's more people in the conspiracy. The Post, you know, somebody funded these guys. We know where the funding fucking was. They flew the fucking planes, and now, did they blow the fucking buildings? Anybody who watches any video of fucking Building 7 that doesn't fucking get that building was fucking blown, it's got their head so far up their fucking ass, they gotta be retarded. Now, did they blow the, who knows? Are a lot of buildings wired in New York? Who knows? Who fucking knows? But the Post fucking 9/11, Chomsky says this to a young African-American male at the University of Florida whose question was very articulate, cut him off in a very ignorant way. Chomsky says this, oh, you guys that think that in academia you can't present papers and it is the most easiest thing to do, there's no risk there. I'm a professor. I'm a finance professor. I've been blackballed from our university, the #1 school of business in the United States, via the testing, as I taught there. Not now. They can't even make the top 300. Railroaded out? Oh, yeah. Anybody with... Chomsky's full... Now, listen. Chomsky's written 112 books saying this. You can't report proper news on any news desk because you will get fired and your career will be over. He said that over and over. He's such a fucking phony hypocrite kissing the University of Florida's ass. Now, why would he kiss the University of Florida's ass? Oh, they're going to give him an honorary degree. Oh, they're going to do that with him. Oh, yeah, he's fucking drank the Kool-Aid, the old senile fucker. Contrary to every book he's ever fucking read, the greatest hypocrites ever. Naomi Wolf, Naomi Klein, who wishes she was Naomi Wolf, who is Naomi fucking nothing. Chris Hedges, as Hedges everything he says, remember this, they had the platform. They had, everybody says, oh, well, they went over there to fucking have, yeah, for money. They were paid. I mean, huge sums of fucking money. War profiteers. Helen Caldicott's same book over and over and over. Meaningless, babbling, fucking ridiculous bullshit. They had the filth. Not in a cute fashion. No, they're chronic. They did nothing with it. That's pathetic. Remember, Hedges and Wolf had the platform with Valerie Plain Wilson's fucking husband saying, oh, pal, stand it. He's lying his fucking ass up. He's the guy. He's the guy. That was his job. Valerie Plain Wilson worked for the CIA. To out a CIA agent is a felony. So he's saying they're lying. They're lying. They're saying they're getting the plutonium. We know where every drop of plutonium on Earth is. That's one thing we do know. He knew. He was the ambassador. He was the liaison. He says, fuck, I'm here. No. He's got privy to every fucking drop of information there ever was, including his wife. That's fucking lying. Hedges knew that. Naomi fucking knew that. Klein? What did they do with it? Nothing. They waited till a few years later and says, oh, see, we told you, now we're going to write a fucking book. Bob Novak, I wonder how he likes hell. You know, Dick Cheney's fucking lawyer outed it. This is all fact. We're not talking about the pre-lead-up. Was the Bush administration involved? Well, let's get real. The Bush administration, Brother Bandar, Saudi Arabia. Come on. Please. Please. The fucking Bush war family. Did they orchestrate it? I don't know. But I'll tell you what. The post 9/11, oh boy, did they take advantage of it and gut this fucking country. Pay the Dragon Slayer. Let's talk about post fucking 9/11. Post 9/11. You know, it's amazing to me the dogma and the fucking stereotypes that are fucking inbred into people's fucking brains about 3/11, 9/11, your money. When 9/11 happened in 2000, 2001, gasoline was $1.34 a gallon. $14 a barrel. Gold was what, $245 an ounce? We can go over and over. Good economists weight wealth. That's how we do it. We've always weighted against gold. But about 40, 50 years ago, it became oil. Was the more accurate weight. Now I weighed it against plutonium, my matrix. After that happened, we went on fear mode. It was pay the dragon slayer. We have built up the military-industrialized complex on Balco. That's just a fucking fact. As I stood at the debt clock, $17 trillion. What was the debt at 2000? Now, granted, we still had a fucking debt. Now, people don't know the difference between the debt and the deficit. One's annual, one's in the aggregate. The military-industrialized complex, remember in 1997, 98, as bad as I can't stand Bill Walmart Clinton for signing NAFTA, he was fucking getting rid of the military big time, downsizing it big time, which is good, not bad. Look at that debt clock. Look at your fucking dollars. Look at your fucking wealth. It's been, I like how the CPI and the PPI, we had this discussion when I was on the New York floor on Friday with some friends, some people that I know that used to work there. Now let's talk about the fucking piece of shit, scumbag, loser fucks of 60 Minutes. How did Snowden get a platform there? Beyond me. The whole thing sneaks to me. Snowden, they say, has a nuclear option, which I think is nuclear. Well, he ends up in Russia on the same team. Is he a double agent? More than likely. More than likely. Well, others says, oh, God, what are you talking about? Well, we're playing World War, you know. Who would ever believe that she was a CIA agent before it was outed? Would you have believed that? Tell me this. If you met Valerie playing, well, she's beautiful. She's contemporary. She's, you know, a socialite circle. Nobody, fucking nobody would have believed. I remember when I heard her, I'm like, what? Her? No fucking way. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. CIA is fucking massive in this fucking country. Massive. It's now the double agent working for fucking both sides at the same time in the thing. I don't know. But the whole thing stinks because he got a platform on 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes producer, and this is Christina Radchick is the one that exposed it. By the way, has done incredible work, that woman. It was exposed. We have the fucking emails. It was leaked to her, and then she leaked it out all over. We have it. The president of CBS to the executive producer of 60 Minutes. You want to cover up Fukushima, we need to do it on 60 Minutes. When they showed the pictures of the spent fuel pools on 60 Minutes, they're not even the fucking pictures of the fuck. They're pictures from fucking, I believe those pictures came out of Hanford. They're old photographs that have been cropped over and over and over. 60 Minutes does their show on Sunday talking about the flash trade, and this guy's written another fucking book, another war profiteer. Says, oh, you know, he doesn't explain who it hurts and who it fucking destroys. Now look, computerized trade's 90%. So what has it done? It's gutted Wall Street. I was on Wall Street. I work in the hedge fund industry, real hedge funds, not the fake fucking thieves. No, I hedged the different charitable foundations. I hedged portfolios for university endowments. I was a wealth protection. I used to buy puts on derivatives underneath the fucking thing on the high dividend stock to guarantee, like a fucking insurance policy. That's what traditional hedge funds do. That's what they're supposed to do. Not these fucking speculator, fucking gambler, thief robs, as you don't even know. Y'all bitch about Wall Street, and then you sit and look at your 401k. That is Wall Street. You're going to live happily ever after till you're old, and when you get old, they're going to give you this big chunk of money, and I'm going to retire, and you're going to buy yourself diapers and Viagra. Well, something's going to happen along the way, just like it happened to me. Just so many. You're going to get fucking cancer. And when you get cancer, it's just like, oh, there's Obamacare, blah, blah. Let me tell you something. Obamacare is patterned after Romney in Massachusetts. Oh, no. Romney got it from here in Utah. But, yeah, you could tell people. And I was talking to a Mormon yesterday, and she says, yeah, I have 3 kids. My health costs went up, blah, 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 blah. And I said, I could tell you're lying. You're fucking lying. You're dogma, you're lying. Well, how do you know I'm lying? Because you're a Mormon. Yeah? Mormons lie all the time. All of them. What are you talking? Mormons, all of them lie all the time. That's a fact. Just like evangelicals do. Just like fucking religious progressives. That's what we turn it. They didn't used to. Now get real. I come from incredible Mormon bloodline. Some of the most marquee, quintessential Mormons in Mormon history are my grandfather. You know, I have such iconic freaking historical Mormon blood. They weren't this. This has all happened in 30 years. Okay, what happened when the computer started? Just like every other industry, we took all protections away. all protections. We quit policing the sheep. So the funnel gets tighter and tighter and tighter. So instead of the firm that I used to work for, 362 employees, they have 3 employees now. What they did, they hired math PhDs with finance backgrounds, which they're very rare, and they built computerized matrices, and they just hire that guy and he just updates that computer. And that computer does everything that we did. We took out the human element out of it, turned it into a science, tried to turn it into science. Now remember Black-Scholes, who won a Nobel Prize for their pricing derivatives. Remember their model in the 90s? That was their computerized model. They took the art out of it and tried to turn it into science. And remember, it all collapsed, come tumbling down. Their fucking giant hedge fund lost a lot of big fish, a lot of money. But it doesn't matter if you lose money in this country. If you're a big fish and you lose money, I don't care what industry, academia, fucking the military industrialized complex, bankers, whatever. Doesn't matter if you lose. The government will write you a check for your losses no matter what. You could be a fucking importer of fucking slave labor and human fucking trafficking. You could, cocaine, heroin, whatever, and you say, oh, God, my business went down. Government will write you a fucking check. Because the fucking Operation Foxconn's fall for it. Ooh, we're going to lose jobs. We're going to lose jobs. Those fucking slave traders that fucking import fucking children and women and exploit them for slaves, ooh, they employ people. That's how sick this country has had in their dogma. So what happened on Wall Street was this. This guy doesn't talk about it. It doesn't hurt you as an investor. One single fucking iota. Not one iota. Okay, so in the old days it was like this. You go into seat on the New York Stock Exchange, every trade had to route through the posts. People owned those posts. You had to buy a seat. And then the people that owned the seat employed the fucking traders. It was open outcry hand signals. Then it went to computers. We changed the rules to the decimal system instead of the fraction. So say you're going to buy General Electric in 1990 something, it would say 45 by a quarter by 45 and 3/4. That half spread, that's quite a bit of money. That's what the fucking traders, that's what fueled Wall Street, was that spread. We went to decimals. That was over. So it started to get pennies and computers started to compete. Well, that wasn't enough for these fucking monsters. They started to realize that computers could do all this fucking work and front run it through the fucking cable. So just that little minute fraction of time, they could make more money. Okay, so you're going to go buy some Tesla today or some Apple today. Tesla's what, $215 a share. So you buy it. So what do you give a fuck if you pay $215.34 or $215.30? It doesn't make any difference to you. Not zero. What it makes a difference is to the industry. It gutted the fucking industry. There are no traders anymore. There are no hedge funds anymore. It's all one computer. So it gutted there were a lot of responsible people on Wall Street. Do not kid yourself. This, again, you fucking dogma. Oh, we ate them all. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yeah, because just like every other industry, the corrupt fuckers have taken the fucking field. Because white-collar crime is not only legal, it's encouraged. To be a criminal oligarch and thieve and steal money is to be a god in this country. Get the money any way you can, and people will walk around and worship you like a fucking god. Is the problem the so-called Illuminati, the so-called control, the so-called politicians, the so-called powers that be? No, none of that. None of that. The problem is the masses. Popular opinion. Human beings. The hypnotized, dogmatic fools. That's who we are. And we just let the war profiteers fucking... You cannot tell anything. I proved it through Fukushima in my videos. I proved it. My accuracy is so incredible and since so fucking unbelievable, it doesn't matter to you because your dogma. Not these listeners who listen to this radio show, they get it. Not people who watch my videos, so many of them, they get it. But the general masses, the fucking 99.99%, they are ingrained, they are hypnotized, they are ignorant to their dogma. They are the problem. They support the very fucking grotesque system, New World Order, no, Old World Order. They support that fucking system. And then the war profiteers just regurgitate, their literature. You ever read, I want you to go read one of Helen Caldicott's books. I want you to read one of Noam Chomsky's books. I want you to read one of Naomi Klein's books, one of Chris Hedges' books. They're pathetic. There's nothing passionate about them. There's nothing compelling about them. It's regurgitation of backwards-looking old dogma subject matter. We knew this. Oh, yeah, you knew it? Then why didn't you say something then? Valerie Plain Wilson's husband tried. Look what they did to him. So Noam comes out and says, oh, no, it's not risky to be on a university and take on, present your papers to these different societies. Are you fucking kidding me? That old senile fucker needs to sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up. He doesn't know what, maybe in 1975, maybe in 1967, maybe even 1993. Not now, post-fucking 9/11, not post-fucking the Patriot Act. That's what people don't get it. The greatest slap in the face to the United States Constitution comes twofold. This is Tribe's words from Harvard, the law professor, who's considered, and I think it's true, to be the world's foremost expert on the Constitution, not now, in 100 years. He says the greatest backdoor to the fucking United States Constitution, I've been saying this since the day it happened, and this is Justice Breyer's dissent words, was we have the Electoral College to give states rights. That's the only reason the Electoral College is it. So big, powerful states with big populace don't control votes. California, New York, Florida. The Florida Supreme Court rules. That's right. That's exactly right. The count must go on. The United States Supreme Court, which is no court, do not kid yourself. It is the opposite of a court. It is a political wing, an appointed fascist political wing. 5-4, 5-4, 5-4, 5-4. When two of the guys sitting, Lita Roberts, don't even deserve to be there because Bush did not win. Now, would have been better off with Gore? That doesn't matter. Yeah, Gore's a piece of shit, too. But that doesn't matter. We're talking about, just like 9/11, 3/11, we're talking about the facts, the hard, detailed facts. Just like Noam doesn't get it. You watch a video of Building 7, and you tell me that that's not a fucking implosion? You gotta be fucking retarded. It was obviously blown. Now, why was it blown? Maybe that was the central headquarters, and they were feared, and they got ferreted out, and, that piece of shit, four-eyed little fucking creepy fuck, ex-mayor of New York, Giuliani, which is one of the greatest, not my words, New York City Fire Department, talk to one, I'm friends with a lot of the New York City Fire Department. By the way, at the Shirtwaist Fire, and that video I shot, has only got 498 views. That video should have 400 million views. Oh my God. New York City Fire Department, putting their ladder right there where it was, ringing the bell, the garments swaying in the wind. That is such a magnificent piece of art. It is so heartbreaking. It is so real. That event was so powerful. So powerful. We had a nice turnout. The New York City Fire Department will tell you that Giuliani and the decisions that were made to blow at least 7, and that their radios weren't working. They were inside, the radios were not working. Why were the radios not working? There was a dispute going on the Motorola contracts via Giuliani. They hate fucking Giuliani with a deep-rooted, read into Giuliani's family, his children, his ex-wife's wife. Read into his dynamic as a person. That's as creepy as they fucking get. He ranks right there with Alan Greenspan. Creepy as it fucking gets. That's my point with my videos. My videos, I try to be intimate so you understand who I am, what I am, where I am in a very intimate way. We get fooled. You guys think these guys are this when they're not. People's personal lives matter. It fucking matters to who they are. Not sexually, but sexually. Not, it's like Rumsfeld. Rumsfeld goes on television on 60 Minutes crying, my son committed suicide, when he had nothing to do with his son. His son was a lost fucking soul out in the wilderness because his father fucking was a freak who abandoned him. He was no father to him. He's crying, and the American public goes crazy. We don't see that. They're like, how many fucking young men did Rumsfeld just fucking mass murder and sit there just like, I've said for years, since this happened, I keep waiting for fucking Rumsfeld to just go zip, and it was just a suit, and McNamara to walk out. Now, McNamara just passed away. He said during Nam over and over and over, American troops are nothing but another weapon. They are fucking a tank. They are a gun. They are a dirty bomb. They are fucking, Agent Orange. That's what Rumsfeld thought, too. You got to remember, Donald Rumsfeld made the decision to spray white phosphorus on his own Marines. On his own Marines. Now think about this. I want you to all think about this. I am in the Marine culture. Semper Fi, Semper Fi, Semper Fi, Semper Fi. My father, the most Semper Fi man. I mean, you want to talk the Constitution when he was dying in the prime of his fucking life? Nuked to death in Nevada Test Site? Oh my God. I mean, I'm not that strong. No way. The 40,000 Marines that were not just the support crews at the Nevada Test Site. They were fucking combat ready, marched right next to the blast. Woke up in hospitals in San Diego. They cut their tonsils out. They tailor-made those decisions from where I'm headed next. I'm headed to San Francisco next. Cal Berkeley Eugenics University. And if you don't believe that what's going on post 3/11, exactly 6 months of 9/11, not the lead up and not the earthquake and not the tsunami, the earthquake, the nuclear plants that are sitting along the fucking rim of the Pacific, how obscene is that? Oh, we have Diablo Canyon. We have San Onofre. As I was one of the leads on getting San Onofre shut down, doesn't matter, we got to shut down. Doesn't matter, because there's 40 years of spent fuel getting bigger and bigger and bigger, old worn out plants. I'm here to tell you right here, right now, all you dogma fucks, we're going to have another fucking major nuclear melt. It's only a matter of time. I can't believe it hasn't happened yet. And it's going to be the worst catastrophe in fucking culture that has ever happened. Oh yeah, we already had that at Fukushima. It's going to happen. Fukushima, the science alone cannot allow this to just keep going on the way it is. It's nuclear fission. Something's got to give at Fukushima in the United States. These plants all over are worn out. They're tired. They're broke down. There's no political will to fix them. Congress can't get anything done because Congress is representative of government. I go around this country all over. First question, I'd fucking do hundreds of fucking internet radios. Hundreds. Same thing. They go right to the top. Obama this, Obama that, Bush this, Bush that. Remember this, when we went to fucking war, yeah, as fucked up as Bush was and the Bush crime family and all of that puppet, Dick Cheney's bitch on a leash. Remember this. Congress voted for that war, including Hillary. Why is Barack Obama president? The only reason he won in the Democratic thing, the only reason he voted against the war. Now, once he got into the White House, did he change? Yeah, he's in the club. He's completely changed. His Nobel Prize. You can watch his speeches in the early days. They were pretty intense, pretty passionate, pretty powerful stuff. Not now. Not now. You can see he's been beat down by the power. To stand up to this fucking nuclear cartel takes one brave human being. The last guy to do it, really, was, in a conscious way, was John Kennedy. Now, Reagan did do that. Now, Reagan, as fucked up as he was, I mean, he ruined the country economically by, handing the keys to fucking Ayn Rand's fucking little bitch on a leash. Greenspan, the biggest terrorist in American history, who should be hung up fucking upside down, skinned alive and burned like Mussolini. It's the greatest terrorist in American history. He destroyed this country. You don't think $17 trillion in fucking debt? You don't think this fucking epic inflation? They'll tell you the CPI and the PPI. Oh, between 2003 and 2006, it went up fucking 3.1%. Try 21 fucking percent. You know what fucking gold did between 2000? Oil, for instance. Oil went up from fucking what? $15, $16 a barrel to $160 in 3 fucking years. I mean, the fucking housing bubble, all of it, as I love all of you out there. You're always, the economy's going to collapse, the economy's going to collapse, that's all you hear. The Fukushima vloggers and bloggers and, the artists, stay to that because economics and finance is extremely complicated and it takes a lot of work. It's called expense, like being a great artist. You can't be a fucking great artist without fucking getting in the field and fucking in the fight, just like literature. Just like writing a fucking book. You have to live the book before you can write the fucking book. It's the same with finance and economics. Chomsky says, you can watch 3 or 4 YouTube videos on the internet. Fuck him. Where the fuck is his experience? He has no experience. He has none. He's he's one of the greatest frauds in American history. They all are. So is Hedges. People say, they did this work. No, they didn't do shit. They're war profiteers. Helen Caldicott, a war profiteer. They're war profiteers. They've done nothing. Nothing. Nothing to advance society. Nothing to advance culture. It's like, oh, Earth Day is coming up. Don't you love how the UN fucking hijacked that movement? Earth Day started clear back in the fucking 30s as a peace activist fucking movement, an anti-nuclear movement. Look, my kid's got this pretty peace sign shirt on, a peace sign. Oh, yeah, they're co-op. They're hijacked. Human rights activists, the great human rights activists, the great environmentalists, who was the last really great? Rachel Carson. Rachel Carson, she was a scientist in the university, doing hard work, but she was an artist. She was a writer. She got not a law of place with her books. Oh, until she says, DDT is going to give you cancer. And he was proving it. It's killing the birds. It's killing every fiber of humanity and the plant life and the animal life, annihilating all cellular structures of the earth. Oh, then she got it. Did it take her death to martyr? It's just like John Kennedy. 90-something% of Americans have his approval rating. It's the highest approval rating, even looking back at a president in U.S. history. When he was president, when he was elected, his approval, there was just 50-50. There's just many people hated his guts as loved him. He was a very hated man by a lot of fucking people because he took them on. He was brave. Cost him his life. Martin Luther King, same thing. There were probably, if polls were taking proper, and we know what polls are now in this fucking country, what a joke. Hijacked, just like everything else, hijacked. American populace goes wild because they'll sit back and write a book about it. 5 years later, the same dry. I met with a publicist in New York City. Kevin, we want your book. Your story is incredible, compelling. We want to do your book. I'm like, well, I haven't finished my book because I need a proper editor. I need a good editor, and I've been afraid to finish it because it's such a compelling, important story. My story is so compelling, all the way back to my father, to my cancer, and me, having no chance to live. I ran on that. If Fukushima's going to give you leukemia, it's going to give you leukemia. Then I get leukemia in a bone marrow transplant center. No chance. Fuck. Miracle after miracle after miracle. My own post-ignorance saved my own life. It's enhancing. So I said, we have to have the proper editor, but it's got to be an editor we trust. Oh no, we use this computer. No, you don't get me. I told her, no, that's the problem. So here's how literature works in this country. This is how Bill O'Reilly, really, Noam Chomsky is the opposite of Bill O'Reilly, but they're the same thing. So they go in, they use voice activation. They sit and listen to you babble and talk and tell your story through a computer, through voice activation. They have matrices that are built, and it writes the book. The computer writes the book, just like on Wall Street. Fucking does it. The computer writes it, and they know buzzwords, they know phrases, they know fucking style to feed that demographic. Because the same people will buy the same book over and over and over and over. Bill O'Reilly, Noam Chomsky. It's the same, Helen Caldicott. The same tiny fucking demographic of fucking fools. We'll read the same thing over and over. It's like fucking reading a Harlequin romance over and over. That's all it is. It's pathetic. It's not literature. I'm like, fuck no. You're not fucking doing that to me. You're fucking crazy. No, I want a real organic, handwritten fucking editor. I told him, fuck off. It's too early. It's not time. Time's getting close for me to fucking write this book. But I said, I told this fucking book in real time. I told it. Culture has been hijacked from A to Z. Hijacked. By the so-called 1%? Yeah. But is it through bloodlines and through... No. It's because of us. We're hypnotized. We're in our dogma snuggies. So here I'm at the New York Stock Exchange with some young video artists from New York City Film Academy. They call me. We meet up. Young, great guys. And they're like, wow, Kevin, we watch your videos, Even one of the professors shows some of your videos, and, and I'm talking to them. You need to identify the social cause and use, metaphors in your videos. They're powerful. As the genre people think the genre is not serious because YouTube, television, it's entertainment. No. I'm like, it will sort itself out. It's the most powerful genre in the history of mankind. So we're standing there. New York City's become nothing but a cultural theme park for Europeans. That's all it is, because of the weak dollar. New York City has benefited post 9/11, post everything, post the thrashing of the dollar, post Greenspan's 0% interest rate, which has caused massive inflation, which has waxed the dollar. The dollar got crushed between 2003 and 2000. It's never recovered. It can't recover because Steve Chinese jobs. We can't even put a fucking tariff at the port. We can't even have these conversations because you're dogma. You're dug in. You're dug in and you're taking it to your grave. I saw it in the hospital. So we're standing there. There's some guys crawled up. You know, it's like the Shirtwaist Fire event. When I used to go there in the 90s, go there all over, there was a few family members and myself. That was it. That was ever there. There was nothing. And by the way, NYU blocked the memorial. And by the way, the building is the real building. It is still the building. It at NYU is the biology and chemistry building. PU, motherfuckers. They're a disgrace. NYU's a fucking disgrace. I went over their economics department. I was in NYU. I had quite a conversation. I said, you don't even show up to the event, and it's right outside your fucking door. Why aren't you guys talking about tariffs? Why aren't you talking about the user economy? As great economists do. You're supposed to be a powerful a couple of professors did start talking. They got fired. They drank the Kool-Aid. New York City is a cultural theme park. 53 million tourists in there last year. They're the only place. There's only two places in America that have benefited from fucking the crushing of our fucking dollar. And Greenspan's economic theory, all of it. They love it just the way it is. Because of tourism. The weak dollar, of course you're going to travel, just like we used to travel there. You know, you're in Europe, oh, fuck, I'm going to get $145 fucking dollars for my euros in America. Fuck, of course, that's a fucking lick. Just like it was the opposite the other way. So they come here. You go down to Wall Street for years and years. I worked down there for years and years. Nobody fucking there. Nobody. Of course. I mean, it was a lonely, weird place down there for years and years and years. You go right off the Trinity Church, hang a left, walk down the little fucking alley, fucking into this. Nobody. Ever. Nobody. You know, Washington statues staring at you. It's so full of tourists now to blow your fucking mind. All Europeans. So there's some guys in dogmas, for real, in Snuggies. They got red, white, and blue Snuggies. A bunch of guys standing up on, which used to be illegal, to stand up on Washington's freaking statue. They're all standing there taking pictures, and I'm like, I told those kids, God, there's got to be some activists, and those kids are like, yeah, they got to be activists protesting something. I says, I'll bet you anything they're not American. I says, what do you think? And I says, I don't know. I says, it doesn't look like a protest to me. It looks like some kind of quirky, goofy fucking celebration to me. So let's go over there. So I go over there. I'm like, what are you guys protesting? Oh, we're not protesting anything. We're celebrating freedom. I'm like, really? You know, they spoke very good English. I says, you're not American, are you? Oh, no. You're European, son. Oh, yeah. Well, I says, how do you know that? And I says, because we don't celebrate freedom here, because we don't have freedom. You fuckers don't. This is fascism on Balco. And if you don't believe me, this is fascism on Balco. They just looked at me, no, it's dogma. They have no fucking clue, rhyme, or reason. If you don't believe me that we are the most fascist state in the history of humanity, I want you to Google Aaron Swartz. A-A-R-O-N, Swartz, S-W. I want you to Google him. As I led the Million Masked Man March in front of the White House, RT voted it as the fourth most underreported story in the world, which I believe it was the second. First, they got it right. The last two, the death of Aaron Swartz. Aaron Swartz, a young man, a brilliant genius who was very politically motivated. Not your dogma politically motivated, not your hater. No, this kid was brilliant, a genius. He knew IT like no, they had a fellowship from Harvard and Yale, I believe. Both were competing to give him a fellowship. He was a genius. He was a political operative. He was a progressive. He was going to change the world. There's no doubt in my mind. He was the most brilliant young man I had fucking seen. He was John Kennedy. He really was. He had the potential to be the next John Kennedy. For real. He was the first young, true progressive that I ever heard talk got it. This kid got it. He was genius. He didn't do anything wrong. They got so afraid of him in New York City. They got so scared of him that somebody fucking set him up just like Hamilton. You know, Hamilton was teed up by a political operative with a really beautiful, sexy woman who kept just on him. He was away from his wife. Really beautiful girl. And she started having sex with him. And Hamilton said himself, he said, I made a huge mistake. I thought she loved me. And he told on himself. changed the world, took a bullet so Jefferson could be president. So Burr would not. So Burr killed him. Oh, Al Gore's bloodlines. Aaron Swartz forwarded a link. Somebody broke into a mainframe at MIT. Now let's talk about MIT. Caveat this. MIT. Let's see. Ernest Moxie Fuel, head of the Department of Energy, the Department of General Electric, the Department of Nuclearism, the Department of Eugenics, the department we want to kill you, the biggest department, just as big as the Pentagon. They're the same departments. I was in them. Department of Cancer, Eugenics U. And the employees in there don't even know they're being fucking euthanized. Everybody can crawl up into the fucking Pudding Chomsky, the old fuck. Crawl on into the fucking train car. Go take the shower. It'll be okay. Not me, fuckers. I'm not getting in the fucking train car. I don't give a fuck. I never will. I never will participate in it. No fucking way. No way. So they team up. Somebody supposedly hacks into MIT, Nuclearism U, the biggest fraud that ever fucking lived. And supposedly it's secure, which it wasn't secure. All he does is forward the link. That's all he did. That's all he did. I don't think he broke one law. They come in and charge him under the so-called Patriot Act, as a terrorist, charge him. They're going to give him 35. They're going to Bradley Manning him. What? They put him up on the table at Skull and Crossbones. You watch my video that I did right after Fukushima happened. In the classroom, as the professor, on what is the nuclear statistics what is the statistical probability of a nuclear disaster in the United States? Skull and Crossbones, 13 universities. So here he's up on the table. They put him up on the table. They pull the fucking table out from underneath him. But first they put a noose around his fucking neck. He died the same day as my father was murdered in the Nevada test site. My father died that day too, January 11th. There we go on those 11s again. So I was admitted to the bone marrow plant. 11-11-11. Fukushima 3-11. 9-11s. What a number. My two little grandsons, my little pair of 11s, born that year. Just days after Fukushima. Their little birthday party, I was at Saturday. I think about those little guys all the time. What are we giving those little guys? What are we doing? Not what our parents did. So Aaron Swartz, they're giving him 35 years. He's trying to plea bargain. He's got a good attorney. He's trying. They won't plea bargain. So they go right back to the pre-trial, getting ready for the fucking trial. And juries in this country? Oh yeah, we got fucking juries. The hater culture of America, they want everybody hung. Because America's a bunch of fucking haters. They're on the defense because they got no game, they got no chance. The field has been so skewed and shaken down, so what do? They play it, put them all in jail, kill them all. We love it, you're dead. We're evil, we're sick. We're sick as a society. We are very sick. We have no compassion, we have no love. Megan Rice proves that. As I did the show last Thursday, I got inside the prison. Right there in Brooklyn. Who would have believed that? I'm 1 mile away. 1 mile away. Nobody knew. All of a sudden I get 3 emails from Ackerman, from Lonnie Clark, and a guy in England. Within the hour, synchronicity. She's a block away. A mile away. I walked over there. I got inside the prison. I didn't get to see her, but she's right there. So Swartz, they won't back down. No plea bargain. 35 years at a 26. If I'm fucking 26 years old and I'm going to go to a federal prison for fucking 36 years, am I going to hang myself? Oh, fuck yeah. You can't flee. They're watching you every fucking second. Biometrics and guns all over you. So it doesn't matter we know who put the noose around him. Just like Michael Hastings. Michael Hastings exposes that fucking McChrystal and all the way up right to the top, Cheney, ordered execution of Pat Tillman. Now, if you don't think, it's all just the cover-up, remember this, Pat Tillman's incredible mother and his amazing father, who were divorced, and his amazing brother. They were on CNN. They were on NBC, ABC, Good Morning America, everything. They told it right to your face. As I said, Christmas Eve 2010, in Manhattan with some of the Democracy Now! People, with a group of us. And by the way, I will say this, is all the bad-mouthing I've done on all the media, including her, at Democracy Now!, I have to tell you, I take back so much. Her work lately on Fukushima, she's hardcore anti-nuclear. Democracy Now! Has done incredible work as of late. I will say, I've got to credit where credit is due. Incredible, incredible work. But nobody else has. But we as a media, we didn't care when Pat Tillman was. Look, the report came back that he was shot by friendly fire, whatever. His mother dug in, got the official report. The bullet spray on the top of the helmet was within just a couple inches away. You know, any forensic freaking scientist knew immediately that he was shot at very close range. She fought him tooth and nail, that woman, and his attorney father. Now let's talk about Pat Tillman, why he did what he did. Pat Tillman, he could have been the most famous man in America. He looked like my dad. Chiseled face, muscles, charismatic, dynamic. I mean, he was beautiful. He was physically beautiful. He was athletic. He was strong. He was driven. He went there as a ranger and made sure his brother went with. He talked his brother to go with so to cover his ass. He was going to advance himself. He was going to come back and be probably the biggest Hollywood star in the world. He knew that. He was keeping a journal about the lies and everything that was going on. His brother was watching his back. Did that guy that killed him, this is right off the Congressional on the Hill. I mean, his people that were with him, what is his co-ranger say? Right on the Hill. What does he say? Right in the Congressional area. He says, you tell me that was an accident? He said, bullshit. It was a murder. And we know. Michael Hastings exposes. He was going to expose more. Did he push that pedal down on that car, or did they remote control? It doesn't matter. Here you are, you tell the truth. He's heartbroken. His family lost over there. He tells the truth in an intense, perfect, beautiful, articulate, passionate way. My favorite writer ever. He was the opposite of Hedges. He was the opposite of Klein. He was the complete opposite of Bill O'Reilly and Noam Chomsky, the book fucking computer writers. No, he told it in detail and truth. They ruined him. Did he push the... Doesn't matter. Contemporary culture, you and I did it to him. He was spit on. He was fucking looked down on. Think about this. You tell the most important stories in the history of humanity, in the truth, and culture just spits on. What do you think Vincent van Gogh fucking killed himself? He knew he was the greatest fucking artist maybe ever. He was hated by culture. Hated. To tell the truth, as I stood in front of the White House and say, to tell the truth is to die. To lie, thieve, and steal is to be an oligarch god. Remember this, Alexander Hamilton, the first Secretary of the Treasury, paid himself 0.0. He read Greek tragedies. Boy, he became Greek tragedy. I've tried to be as Cassandra as I can be. And really, I have been so Cassandra-like. Greek mythology is based on real stories. 300. These are quintessential human emotion times. Just because there's 7 billion, doesn't matter if there's 7 billion or 700. These are still humanity. And this still comes down to choices among men. Bloodlines and protecting wealth and creating wealth through your debt. You know, Ackerman says it perfectly. And by the way, Ackerman, if you're listening, stick to art, because economics, you got no clue. Remember this. Societies and the oligarchs and the so-called wealth inheritance, the inbreds, have never done anything to advance society, not one iota. Nothing. Ever. It is always the radicals that break ranks and change the world, and they're always spit on. They're always stomped down. They're always fucking hated. Michael Hastings, what a beautiful writer. Oh my God, what a beautiful person. Aaron Swartz, oh my God, what a beautiful person. We killed them. We fucking murdered them. My friend Luann, who I grew up with, right here down the fucking road. Yeah, Mick Jagger's girlfriend. We killed her. She didn't kill herself off her dad. She killed herself because of the shirtwaist fire. I'll tell you how. That beautiful, incredible designer. The great American story. She came right out of here from nothing. She wasn't born in a prison. She wasn't nothing. Zero. Beautiful, dynamic. She says, I'm the fuck out of here. Watch this. She's on the runways of Paris, a supermodel. One of the great, I mean, listen to Madonna's words, all these great contemporary cultural icons. They said she was brilliant. We loved her stuff. But as the design world, just like Wall Street, just like every other industry, has funneled up, because what has the design industry turned into? All usury in Bangladesh. Because we as a culture don't give a fuck. Shirtwaist fire, yeah, it happens every fucking month in Bangladesh. As the bell rang, and you can listen to the bell, they read girls' names in Pakistan and Bangladesh. That event was done perfectly. It was done beautifully. The Chockers going to the house. I mean, everyone that was anybody who really fucking counted and really gave a fuck about humanity, they were there. My little army was there. The fake media, the fake book writers, the fake phony fuckers who all live right there in New York City, they couldn't get out of their house and walk there because they really don't give a fuck. Pat Tillman gave a fuck. Aaron Swartz gave a fuck. Michael Hastings gave a fuck. It is incredible. Megan Rice gives a fuck. Greg and Michael, her cohorts. It is amazing to these stories that are going on. This cultural and time. As it looks back in history, what is going to be the biggest story of this time? The apathy. The hypnotized masses. Occupy, we're mad. We got out in the street. But what killed, I mean, all that energy, it was perfect, it was beautiful, it was magnificent. It didn't have leaders. Leaderless? No, it has to be leaders. It has to be opposite. It's sad, but they did do a lot of good. Do not kid yourself. In New York City, the activism that I did, which people can't tell from my videos. They can't tell what I go through. What I go through on these road trips of mine, and it's Lonnie Clark, who doesn't have money, and myself, who I'm totally broke, because, like I said, you get cancer along the way, all your money can't another minute buy. It takes all your money. It takes all your money. These fucking treatments are intense. It's IC units from hell. It takes a lot of money to keep you alive with this disease. I mean, full-time nurses with you all the time, private fucking pharmacists, private personal fucking blood spinners. I mean, teams of doctors. We've done this. And when I get out in the street and I travel, and these videos do no justice. It's intense as fuck. But some of the situations and the places, and some of the people going with it can see. I mean, I get these hillbilly fucking hair. They're always white males, about 55, 60. Oh, you rugging around our mouth. Some fucking hillbilly punk motherfucker. Big dude gets in my face. Oh, you fucking, he thinks he's a contractor. What a fucking joke. Contractor. Watch my videos. Go to stuckodamage.com and watch me with a fucking trial. I'll tell you how a real craftsman works. I go across the wall with a fucking, I can do laughing plus blow your fucking mind. Because I'm authentic. I'm organic. I'm the real thing. I'm not a fucking propagandist whore. I'm not a war profiteer. I don't give a fuck. He gets in my face and says, oh, you fucking environmentalists, you want to stop me from snowmobiling and fucking them out. I'm like, what? Are you fucking, I could give a fuck what you say. Take your snowmobile and stuff it into your fucking ass. Fuck you. Don't talk to me like that. Who the fuck? You know, he swipes and I says, you think you're going to intimidate me, motherfucker? I'm environmental soft. We're talking about nuclear fission at Fukushima, 3 full-core meltdowns. We're talking about fucking cancer and death, you stupid dog. My hairspray, pretty. And I says, contractor with hairspray on? No such fucking thing. You're a fraud. You're an exploiter. I says, how many illegals you got working for you, motherfucker? Really, how many? You see a contractor in hairspray, a fat hamburger eating fucking pull up to your fucking house, you don't have you got a car salesman who's exploiting the hunger of people from the fucking South. We never had a fucking cent. It's against the law to pay those people cash and exploit them. It's illegal, but we accept it again as the masses. Them laws exist. Why don't we enforce them? Because there's no political will to enforce them. We don't care. The problem is the hypnotized dogma baby boomer and the baby wolves born in the cage. They know. I talk to a lot of those baby wolves over and over and over and over. They know. They know that they've been handed a raw fucking deal. They know that there's no job market. When we were kids, it wasn't what career, which career. Now they have no shit. They're all going to serve each other fucking coffee and pizza for the rest of their fucking lives. Really? Really? It can't go on like this. 17 trillion, 18 trillion, 19 trillion, 20 trillion. Everybody says, oh, just the counter is inflation. We'll buy some gold and hedge it. No, you're way late on that. The gold fucking move happened in 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was over. By the time Glenn Beck went on a crying rant, told you to sell your Dow at 6,000 and buy fucking gold, he wiped you out. It's called opportunity cost. The Dow's at 16,000. Wait it back. Wait the Dow back to the 2,000 fucking dollar. Wait it back to the 2,000 fucking gold, oil, your fucking bedroom wall. Wait it back. It's about 6,000. You think, oh, well, I'll buy gold. No, wait your gold back. Wait your gold back to the $2,000. Has it kept up with inflation? It did in 2002, 3, 4, and 5, 6, and the people that did that fucking made great moves. The Post said, gold was 1,900 the day that I told you to sell it. You go right there on YouTube and watch it. Right before I got cancer, I was making a fucking score left and right. I was so on it financially before I got cancer. I was turning small money into huge sums of money. Fucking in the derivatives. Deadly. I told you to sell gold at 1,900 in August of 2011, the day it capitulated. And what did I tell you to do with the money? I Tesla at $15. I know there's people that did it. In the hedge fund, we used to take 20% of those fucking profits above the market return. I know a guy in San Francisco that bought, he says, well, okay, Kevin, I'm going to do what you said. 2,000 shares. It's nearly $500,000 in profit. I'm like, well, fuck, why don't you send me a little bit? You know, I got wiped out when I went into bone marrow. I had to write a check for everything I had. That's what happens. That's what people don't get. You think you're on the winning team. Okay, say you got $1 million. Even with your false equity, which that's not going to hang on. The 0% interest rate, everybody thinks, oh, the housing market will just continue to rise forever. Gold will just go up. No. Just like silver. When it capitulated, I told you to sell silver at 47 on the triple leverage down. What is it today? Things don't just go straight up. And let me tell you something about the history of inflation, the history of deflation, the history of fucking printing fucking money and over. Everybody says, oh, the byproduct, just buy fucking gold. Gold is not a finite commodity. It's not. It's not. You know how much gold's been mined in the last 10 years? You don't think these fuckers control these gold markets? What are you going to do when a sovereign wealth fund, one of these nations just decides to dump? They need money. Gold will lose fucking 34% one day. It's not a finite commodity. There is no finite commodities. Oh, maybe plutonium? No, fuck no. Megan Rice broke into Y-12 just for that very reason. They're making more. Reagan fucking, the astrologer was fucking anti-nuclear. Nancy was anti-nuclear. Gorbachev, anti-nuclear. Signed the whole thing. Let's get rid of it all. They signed it. International fucking law. Y-12 violates international law all day, every day in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, in Utah, in Texas, Energy Solutions, all of it. Violate fucking law. I shot that video right here where I'm at, right through residential neighborhoods of hauling fucking a piece of a reactor in open air against the law, Send it to all the news media here. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. Popular opinion doesn't care. They don't care. They care about a 19-year-old driving a yellow sports car getting a DUI. They care about fucking people's lives being destroyed. They don't give a fuck. It's sick. It's contemporary culture. It's sick. These war profiteers are sick because everybody's falling for the fucking popism gone amok. Warhol wouldn't fucking believe it. As I say, 3/11/11, popism was fucking dead. You just don't see it that it was dead. It's dead. You think about music. The greatest middle class in the history of mankind. 60s, 50s, 70s, in the 80s. We've had declining nominal wages from 1970, 1980s started. Every single year. Every single year, without a break, declining nominal wages. Oh, we got rid of tariffs. We got utility laws. We got already of any so-called protections of the populace. Oh, but you're so dogmatic, you don't see it. You're willing to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and fucking come home at 6. We'll continue this conversation on Thursday. You Google Aaron Swartz, Michael Hastings, Pat Tillman, Megan Rice. As I live to tell, I almost got martyred, and I'm not martyring myself for anyone. Stay tuned.
All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. Twin Gate, 311, whatever you want to call it. I call it